Welcome to Headphone News, Greater Vancouver edition for Thursday, November 28, 2024.
Water quality challenges in Prince Rupert, Canada. Prince Rupert, a city in British Columbia, Canada, is facing serious issues with its drinking water quality. Over 14,000 residents have been affected by frequent boil water advisories. In 2024, the city issued 5 advisories due to equipment failures in a water system that is over 100 years old. This aging infrastructure requires urgent upgrades to ensure safe drinking water. Mayor Pond stated that the city needs more than $205 million Canadian dollars for necessary repairs. The provincial government has invested about $65 million Canadian dollars, while the federal government has contributed $77.2 million Canadian dollars to support these efforts. Local activist Lagamadiere has called for relief from water utility fees until the water system is fixed. The community hopes for improvements within the next 3 years, but more advisories may be issued during the construction process.
U.S. secures release of wrongfully detained Americans. The United States has negotiated the release of 3 Americans wrongfully detained in China. The White House announced this on November 27, 2024. The individuals are Mark Sweden, Kai Li, and John Leung, who will return to the U.S. to reunite with their families. This agreement took years to finalize. In return, several Chinese citizens held in the United States will also be released. President Biden discussed this issue with Chinese President Xi during a recent summit in Peru. This development highlights ongoing tensions between the two nations regarding human rights and diplomatic relations.
Vancouver City Council discusses children's art and natural gas policy. On November 27, 2024, the Vancouver City Council in British Columbia, Canada, held a meeting to discuss bringing back natural gas in new buildings. The debate heated up when Green Party councillors displayed children's artwork that opposed the use of natural gas. Councillor Montague expressed concerns that the artwork created an intimidating atmosphere for speakers at the meeting. Councillor Fry defended the children's contributions, highlighting the importance of community engagement and the voices of young people in civic matters. Mayor Sim ruled that the artwork should be removed to keep order during the meeting. As a result, the council did not reach a decision on the natural gas issue due to the large number of speakers scheduled to present their views.
Canada's Environment Minister addresses emissions data. On November 27, 2024, Canada's Environment Minister warned oil and gas companies about the legal consequences of withholding emissions data. This warning came after Alberta's Premier announced plans to challenge a proposed federal emissions cap. The cap aims to cut emissions from the oil and gas sector by 35% by 2030. Alberta, the main oil and gas producing province in Canada, raised concerns that this cap could lead to a reduction of production by 1 million barrels per day. This ongoing conflict highlights the tension between provincial interests and federal climate policies in Canada.
Court appearance in Tori Dunn murder case. On November 27, 2024, Adam Mann appeared in Surrey, British Columbia, facing charges of second-degree murder for the death of Tori Dunn. Dunn, a 30-year-old landscape business owner, was killed in her home during a suspected home invasion in June 2024. During the court session, Mann indicated plans to change his lawyer. The case will move to the British Columbia Supreme Court, as adult murder cases are handled there. This tragic incident has raised serious concerns about public safety and the criminal justice system in Canada, leading to discussions about bail reform among provincial leaders.
BC doctors urge action on family care crisis. The British Columbia College of Family Physicians is urging the new provincial cabinet to take action on a pressing family care crisis. Many residents in British Columbia are having difficulty finding family doctors, which is putting additional strain on emergency rooms and the overall healthcare system. The college highlights that having a family physician can greatly reduce visits to emergency departments and hospital admissions. They are calling on the government to act quickly to connect patients with doctors. Additionally, the college is seeking support for family clinics and improved benefits for family physicians to attract new doctors to the province. The next legislative session is set to begin on February 18, 2025, offering an opportunity to address these critical issues.
Concerns over U.S. tariffs on Canadian lumber. On November 28, 2024, British Columbia Premier David Eby criticized a proposed 25% tariff on Canadian lumber. He warned that these tariffs would negatively impact both the Canadian forestry industry and American consumers. Eby pointed out that rising lumber prices would result in higher construction costs in the United States. His comments came just before a meeting with other provincial leaders and the Prime Minister of Canada. The ongoing trade dispute over softwood lumber has already posed significant challenges for the industry. Eby described the tariffs as unjustified and cautioned that they could harm job opportunities and economic growth in both countries.
Support needed for BC poultry farmers amid avian flu crisis. Ian Patten, the MLA for Delta South in British Columbia, has expressed serious concerns about the avian influenza crisis impacting local poultry farms. Over 52 farms have faced significant losses this fall due to the virus, resulting in the culling of around 7 million birds since spring 2022. Patten criticized the British Columbia New Democratic Party government for failing to provide sufficient support to farmers. He emphasized the emotional and financial strain on these farmers and called for low-interest loans to help them recover. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has reassured the public that avian influenza does not pose a food safety risk.
Vernon Adams Jr. joins Calgary Stampeders. Vernon Adams Jr. has been traded from the BC Lions to the Calgary Stampeders. This trade took place on November 27, 2024. Adams had a strong season with the Lions, finishing with a record of 6 wins and 3 losses as a starting quarterback. He completed 197 passes out of 302 attempts, amassing 2,929 yards and scoring 16 touchdowns. The Calgary Stampeders are looking to improve their performance after a tough season, where they ended with 5 wins, 12 losses, and 1 tie, missing the playoffs for the first time since 2004. With this trade, the BC Lions will now move forward with Nathan Rourke as their starting quarterback. Fans are excited to see how this trade will affect both teams in the upcoming Canadian Football League season.
Kelowna to host Memorial Cup in 2026. Kelowna, located in British Columbia, Canada, will host the Memorial Cup in 2026. This tournament showcases the best junior hockey teams from across Canada. The Kelowna Rockets, part of the Western Hockey League, will be the host team. The Canadian Hockey League made this announcement recently. Kelowna last hosted the Memorial Cup in 2004, when the Rockets claimed the championship title. Local officials anticipate that this event will bring significant economic benefits to the community, similar to the 10 million Canadian dollars generated during the 2004 tournament. The city has allocated 3.7 million Canadian dollars for renovations to the Prospera Place Arena to ensure it meets the required standards for this major event.
Liberal candidate faces questions over heritage claims. Madison Fleischer, a candidate from the Liberal Party in the upcoming by-election in Cloverdale-Langley City, British Columbia, is under scrutiny for her claims of Indigenous heritage. The Wasia Métis Society, a local organization representing the Métis community, has raised concerns about her assertions of being Métis. The organization stated that Fleischer could not provide evidence to support her claims when approached. She previously identified as Métis on social media but later removed those references to avoid confusion. Fleischer explained that her identification is based on her understanding of her great-grandmother's heritage and that she is currently gathering documentation to apply for citizenship with the Métis Nation British Columbia. This situation brings attention to important discussions about Indigenous identity in Canadian politics, especially in British Columbia, where issues of representation and heritage are significant. The implications of this scrutiny may impact Fleischer's candidacy and the Liberal Party's reputation in the region. as misrepresentation of Indigenous identity can undermine trust between political candidates and Indigenous communities.
Father and son rescued from capsized boat in British Columbia. On November 28, 2024, a father and son were rescued after their boat capsized near Crescent Beach in South Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. The incident took place around 6 p.m. while they were checking crab traps. One of them called 911 for assistance, which triggered a rescue operation by the Surrey Fire Service. Thankfully, both individuals were wearing life jackets and had been in the water for about 30 minutes before emergency crews arrived. A neighbor tried to help by paddling out on a paddleboard but returned safely to shore. A helicopter also assisted in the search by shining a light on the water. The Surrey Fire Service reminded everyone about the dangers of boating at night. That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.